So hello everyone and welcome to the Reluctant Guru's Creative Manifestation Talk. Over the next half an hour or so, we'll be exploring the phenomenon called synchronicity. We'll try to lift back the veil on how synchronicity, also known as manifestation, the law of attraction, and positive psychology, actually works, separate fact from fiction, and understand how to go about implementing it for your benefit. We'll explore the science behind it a little bit as well, just trying to get to grips with it. And using a pen and some paper, we'll illustrate some very simple practical activities to begin to play with manifestation creatively in your daily life, starting right now. Whether you do want to do it to harness it for work, play, or otherwise, there's plenty of ways to access. So before we get started, let's introduce ourselves. So we are the Reluctant Gurus. We're a creativity and wellbeing company based in Ireland, and we've been running for almost 2 years now. We teach workshops on how to live a more creative, holistic, happy, and well life, no matter who you are or what your experience is with creativity.
So I'm Anne-Marie, and I'm a communications professional who has worked in both the private and governmental sectors all around the world, including in Paris, Thailand, and Vietnam. And I really believe that creativity is for everyone. And even if you have a job that doesn't involve creativity, there are always ways to kind of bring creative aspects into your work and into your everyday life.
And I'm Shannon. I'm lucky to be a full-time creative. So I'm a content creator and workshop facilitator who works for Irish museums. And I write and I illustrate as well. And I do have a background in the art, and I'm a qualified happiness facilitator with the London Museum of Happiness.
So what is synchronicity? So some of you might already be quite familiar with this phenomenon, but it's a bit of a loaded term. So let's clarify it before we proceed any further. It might be the same numbers repeating. You bump into someone you know on holiday, miles from home, 2 days in a row. You find yourself thinking about someone. Then the phone rings and it's them. You're in need of cash and keep finding money on the street. You're thinking of changing career, then floods of emails arrive from recruiters. Any of these things and much more can fall under the category of synchronicity or manifestation. So synchronicity is a term coined by Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung, defined as a meaningful coincidence of two or more events where something other than the probability of chance is involved. Synchronicity is all about spotting and capitalizing on opportunities that are presented to you by life. Many believe that when you are experiencing these events, it is a sign from the universe that you are on the right track. You have asked for something, are being heard, and are being told, go for it. Of course, there are also more scientific explanations for synchronicity and manifestation also. Probably the most significant of these is that the human brain is hardwired to seek out and look for connection in everything we do, whether this is connection between others or connections between things. Many social theorists and scientists, such as Alan Shore, Daniel Siegel, Shelley Taylor, all support this theory and have shown that our neurons light up in our brains when they discover connection. Let's do a very short, quick activity to illustrate this. Have you ever heard of the remote associations test? The remote associations test was originally published in 1959 and then again in 1962 by Professor Sarmaf Mednick and Martha M.T. Mednick. It's a test designed to illustrate creativity in the brain, but also it works to show how the brain looks for connections between different things. So I'm going to give you 3 words, and in the chat, I want you to let me know one other word that connects them. So somebody might get here first before everyone else. Let's see how it goes. So before we do it, I'm going to give you an example. So I might say the words cottage Swiss cake. I'm not sure if anything came to anybody there, but the answer to what connects them would be cheese. So you have cottage cheese, Swiss cheese, cheesecake. So the words I'm going to give you, and I'll just give you 30 seconds and see if anybody can get it, and just write it in the chat if you did. So the words are wise, work, and tower. Wise, work, and tower. So somebody said owl. I see where you're going with that. It's not owl, the one word that specifically connects them all. Anybody else got a guess? Wise, work, tower. Okay, I'm going to give it to you. Man, someone said man. No, I see where you're going with that as well. Not the specific answer I have here, but there are like obviously other ones. So the answer for this one is clock. So clockwise, clockwork, clock tower. Okay. So anyway, thanks for trying the little test. So that just shows you how easy it is for our brains to find connections between things. And of course, that sometimes it does require a little bit of effort on our part to do so also. So of course, there are many other scientific reasons why synchronicity works, which we'll explore further during the course of this webinar. Okay, so moving on, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the science of manifesting and getting clear about intentions. So first, we must begin our journey into the realm of synchronicity and manifestation at the very beginning, and that is knowing where you want to go. So while we can all experience random synchronicity, where the same things crop up time and time again in life, and many of you have probably experienced that, you are much more primed to experiencing it if you know what you are looking for. So there's a famous quote from Paulo Coelho's famous book, The Alchemist, which says, "And when you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it." But how does this work in practice and scientifically? So as a creative well-being company, we regularly host vision board workshops in which we explore many activities which enable participants to kind of get clearer on what they want from life. So we did one here with Iconic Offices in January, to be exact. And during these workshops, participants were invited to look inwards, discover their desires, and then use these to create a vision board where they add pictures, artwork, and words related to their dreams. Finally, they put these things in a place where they would see them regularly. So this is the first aspect of manifestation, basically. Many books and teachings on the law of attraction and manifesting encourage manifestors, so-called manifestors, to get clear about what it is they want in life. So getting clear about what you want and having a vision board to remind you of it every day, or similarly meditating on your desires every day, helps with brain training. So just like a diary or tracker, a habit of looking at something daily works on a few different levels. By continuously looking at the same imagery, you actually train your brain to seek it out in your everyday life. This in turn trains your brain to be more open to opportunities around you that might bring you closer to your goal. So many real life stories about the law of attraction are from people who got serious about what they wanted in life. So for example, and this is a story I really love, and I've experienced similar in my own life. There's a story in the famous book, The Secret, that many of you might have heard of, about a man who made a vision board when he was younger. So years later, he was going through old things in his house with his son, and the son came across the vision board and asked what it was. So he started explaining and then realized that there was a picture of the actual house he was living in on the vision board that he had created like many years before. So there are loads of similar stories about people writing lists of what they want in a partner and then meeting someone very soon after who has all of those exact qualities. So outlining your desires is important because it taps into something called the law of attraction. The law states that whatever you put out into the universe, you attract into your life. So if you ask for something, you'll receive it. Likewise, if you're filled with negativity, worry, and dread, or believe that you do not deserve what you're asking for, you might find that you attract this too. So quantum physics, getting a bit more into the science, offers a probable explanation for the feasibility of this law. In physics, the universe and everything in it is made up of energy, including us. This energy is interesting for a number of reasons. It can neither be created nor destroyed. It is constantly moving or vibrating. If you break us down into our atoms, they are moving around one after another constantly. Like energy is attracted to other like energy. This is how we appear as physical beings and why our atoms, which are moving, don't drift apart. One of the founding fathers of quantum physics, Max Planck, once said, "As a man who has devoted his whole life to the most clear-headed science, to the study of matter, I can tell you as a result of my research about the atoms this much. There is no matter as such. All matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force which brings the particles of an atom to vibration and holds this most minute solar system of the atom together. We must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious and intelligent mind." So it's this mind or force that we tap into with the law of attraction. And there are many studies that have kind of proved the power of manifestation or the law of attraction at work. So one study was conducted on prayer, which is a powerful tool for manifestation because you're putting a wish out into the universe. And in this one study, women who had been prayed for had nearly twice the rate of pregnancy as compared to those who were not prayed for. Another study conducted on 22 bush babies states that the animals who were prayed for had a greater improvement in wound size versus those who weren't prayed for.
So, in terms of getting specific about what we want, we do just have a link here, and this will be sent out to you after the seminar to see some of the different sort of techniques of manifesting and creating prosperity in your life. And so we recommend having a look at that as well. So if we are to believe that our thoughts can influence or tap into this energy that Anne-Marie was talking about, it is of course important to get very specific about what we want. One of the biggest barriers that we face when we decide to start manifesting is that we don't know what we want from life. We sort of say vague things rather than being very specific. We say we want love, but we don't say in what form. A lot of people hold back on their deepest, darkest desires because they are worried what other people will think of them if they come true, or feel that they don't deserve what they want as well. And that's a big thing that you might be doing unconsciously without realizing it. So, for instance, for me, I'm very guilty of this. And I've been doing this a long time, going through desires and manifestations, and I'll be writing down what I want. And I will self-edit as I'm doing it without even realizing. So I'd be like, I want to get a book published, but then I'm like, well, realistically, actually, that's going to take a really long time. And actually, maybe I won't be able to do a novel. Maybe it will just be a book of whatever. So I start questioning my own desires. And back in 2019, I have an example of this that actually happened to me. So I decided I wanted to find a relationship, and I made a list of what I wanted, and within a month, I had exactly everything on the list show up in a potential partner. But I had forgotten to ask something very important thing. The relationship didn't work because I'd forgotten to ask for the person to be open to love as well. So that's why that broke down. So you do have to be very specific with this. So to overcome this barrier with anything you are manifesting, here is a really good tip. Spend time writing down things that you want, but then start the list again. So go back over it and write 3 different versions of a question, each time trying to be a bit more honest and open, taking it a little bit further, making it bigger, each time you go as well. And then go with your last one so that you haven't self-edited, you've actually expanded on what you're doing. You're making it bigger and better each time. So with this in mind, we're going to do a very short activity to get you in touch with yourself and your desires. And as I was saying, it's very important to get in touch with parts of yourself that you've forgotten about for this, and this can help you discover your inner truth. So on the screen here, and I do have to apologize for the slides, I've been having a bit of an issue with them, so they're a little bit, the format's not coming out correctly, but on the screen here, we basically have 3 things: connecting you to your past, connecting you to your present, and connecting you to your future to find out what brings you joy. So I want you to write down the first thing that comes to mind that you wanted as a child, that you want now, and that you think future you will want. So just really don't think about it. Just put down whatever comes to mind. Don't judge it. So, what did you want as a child? What do you want now? What might you want in the future? So, to give you an example, it might be something like when you're a child, you wanted a dog. It could be something as simple as that. Now you're looking for a raise at work, and in the future you want to retire beside the sea, something like that. Let's just give you a few seconds to do that. So these three things, after the session now, what I want you to do is go back to this, and I want you to interrogate them, re-answering the questions. So for the dog example, for instance, you look at why you want a dog. So you might say, why do I want a dog? Well, I love being around dogs because they help me to live in the now. They give me unconditional love. They're lots of fun. They help me to take life less seriously. And you discover from this that the thing you're really after are these qualities and not maybe potentially the dog itself. So you discover your desires a little bit deeper that way, and you get very specific about what you're after. So do that about 3 times, going through that list, and each time trying to be a bit more specific. And then these are the qualities that you're going to put on a vision board, or you're going to visualize when you're meditating, some way to make it come true in your mind's eye.
So moving on, talking a bit about the importance of being present when it comes to creative manifestation. So basically, many of the teachings on manifesting point very much to being more present and living in the now. So you can't spot synchronicity without paying attention. So this ties very well with the idea of kind of mindfulness. So in fact, presence is the essence of many spiritual teachings. For many people, when they have a goal, that goal takes up such an important part of their lives that they become extremely future focused, and they kind of fail to live in the now and be mindful. So the steps that they take to reach their goal often feel like obstacles to overcome, and they are just waiting for the big break and are therefore failing to live in the now. And we've all been guilty of this, I feel, in some sense or another in our lives. So for example, when me and Shannon started the Reluctant Gurus a few years ago, our goal was to bring creativity and joy to anyone who attended our workshops. And I absolutely loved preparing the material for our workshops, printing out posters, adding visuals to ads, all of that stuff. And I feel that we were always very anchored in the now at every step of the way because we genuinely enjoyed each step. And I feel that that's a reason that we've been successful and have had so much positive feedback from attendees at our workshops, as well as being able to attract little miracles that have helped us along the way in sharing our message with others. We have also noticed that when we're feeling present and anchored in the now, that those little funny coincidences that we'll talk a bit more about later start to happen. When we're feeling present and have good energy and flow, that's the time we're more likely to get a phone call with good news or bump into an old friend that we've just been thinking about. So the good news is you can try and be more present today by taking little steps to do so. So is there something that you do that you truly enjoy that makes you forget time? So playing with your dogs, cooking, doing yoga, anything at all. So try and do more of this, and it will help you to live more in the present. So moving on for an activity for presence. As I just said, there are many ways to bring a bit more presence into your life, and mindfulness is a very popular word these days. And you might already incorporate some related activities into your daily routine, such as meditating, yoga, or walking in nature. So let's try one little activity here to bring you into the present moment. Okay, and this is something you can try at home. So a great activity for coming back to the present moment is the act of paying attention to your surroundings. Instead of getting lost in your thoughts, be where you are totally. So for this activity, I'm going to ask you to sit down comfortably with your back straight. We're going to do a very short sensory embodied exploration of what surrounds us. And don't worry if there's a bit of noise in your background, just go with it. So are you ready? Let's go. So first, let's bring our focus and intention to our eyes. So feel them, acknowledge your eyes. Spend a moment looking around with them. What can you see? What different colors and shapes surround you? What do you see? In particular, I want you to find something that brings you joy to look at. It might be a color, it might be an object. Really look at it. What do you notice about it? Now, just say a little thank you to your eyes for all that they do for you every day. Next, turn your attention to your ears. Reconnect with them. Feel the tip of your earlobe. Take a moment to listen to what surrounds you. What can you hear other than me? Explore and reach out with this sense. Then zone in on just one thing you can hear. What is it? How does it make you feel? So coming back to the room now, how did you find that exercise? Feel free to let us know in the chat if you like. So this is an exercise you can do regularly to help ground yourself in your surroundings and the present moment, and with more of your senses, like taste or touch, if you want to explore food that you're eating or anything like that.
So when we talk about being present, we really just mean to be present in the moment. And a key part of this is accepting whatever is happening to you right now. I'm talking about accepting the situation that you're in. But actually, this is a key step towards really tapping into that power of the law of attraction. Because, as we said earlier, you mustn't be fixated on a future date for your manifestation to start working. It has to start working now. Also, not every present moment is going to be pleasant, and we acknowledge that. Eckhart Tolle says that if you surrender to your surroundings and your circumstances, you'll be free internally of the situation, and it is then that real change can come about. And the situation may then just change without any effort at all on your part. And that's where you see the synchronicities and these different things start to come in. This will lead you in the right direction out of the situation. So on the subject of accepting what can be perceived difficult situations, it's important to realize that human mind judges situations, but because of our limited perspective, we have no idea if a seemingly bad situation may lead to some of the greatest good of our lives. An old Chinese story of unknown origin tells this tale of a farmer who used to have an old horse in his fields. One day, the horse escaped off into the hills, and when the farmer's neighbors sympathized with the man over his bad luck, the farmer replied, "Bad luck, good luck, who knows?" A week later, the horse returned with a herd of wild horses from the hills, and the neighbors congratulated the farmer on his good luck. He replied, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" Then, when the farmer's son was attempting to tame one of the wild horses, he actually fell off its back and broke his leg. Everyone again sympathized with the farmer over his bad luck, but the farmer's reaction was, "Bad luck, good luck, who knows?" Some weeks later, the army marched into the village and drafted every able bodied youth that they found. When they saw the farmer's son with his broken leg, they let him stay. Good luck, bad luck, who knows? So another way to look at accepting life and the challenges in our way is that when we realize such situations might have a lesson for us to lead to some greater good and the thing that you're trying to manifest in the end. It's like that saying, a door closes, another opens. So you may not get exactly what you're looking for, but it may lead you to what you were looking for at the beginning. Have you heard of the phrase Hakuna Matata? Don't worry, I'm not going to start singing Disney tunes, but it means don't worry, no worries for the rest of your days. The message is very important for a creative manifestation journey. There are many people who are like that, who don't worry about things, they just let things happen. And guess what? Good things tend to generally happen to them. It's all about perspective. And that's because they see the good in a general situation rather than the bad. And then they're more likely to capitalize on the good. So we have a friend, for instance, who never worried about money. She would be down to her last penny and she just never believed that she would run out. She always believed money would come to her at the situation at the very last moment. It was a windy day and Anne Marie and her were leaving the shop, and this is the truth, €10 just blew in her face. So whether you're religious or not, it's interesting to read as well that the Bible even has quotes in it to do with this. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your request to God. And another one, can all your worries add a single moment to your life? And of course, the same can be said of many films, just like Hakuna Matata. There's Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Newt Scamander says, my philosophy is that worrying means you suffer twice. So the truth about worry is that it's pointless, and we need to get rid of that to open ourselves up to these synchronistic events. And it's not to say you can't ever have bad thoughts either, because if you go the opposite direction, there's something called it's kind of toxic positivity, and it means that it can make you feel bad for having bad thoughts about your life, for complaining. So you've got to make sure that you don't judge yourself for any thoughts that you have. You've got to accept them and move on from them. So you're not trying to manifest something in your life that without obstacles. There will be obstacles that will arise. If you get stressed out every time something doesn't seem to be going the right way, then what's going to happen is you are going to deviate off your path. You're not going to follow it through. So come back to the present moment is the way to get over this. Do whatever action is required of you regarding the so-called obstacle, and do your best to believe without doubt that everything will work out for the best. So let's practice surrendering and acceptance in order to be open to synchronicity and manifestation. So on a piece of paper, I want you to write down 3 things in your life, or even one, two, whatever you can think of, that you wish were different, things that you usually complain about. These are the things, we constantly go, oh gosh, I wish I didn't have to do this. It could be something to do with your job. It could be something at home. So now that you have a couple of things written down, we do have something on the screen here for you to write down beside it. And it's, I accept this situation and I know that everything always works out for the best. And this is something to constantly remind yourself, like a little mantra or affirmation that you can use to get you in that frame of mind of acceptance in your daily life. So often we want things to come together. Again, this is a little bit similar to what we talked about on being so future focused that you want to live, that you fail to live in the now. We often think that a better life awaits us. We know that when we get that better job, all loose ends will be tied up and then our life will be perfect. For some of us, it might be when we meet the perfect partner or sticking to our healthy diet. Oh yes, if we just ate more fruit and vegetables, we'd have the perfect body and we'd be happy. So this is all thoughts that, don't worry, we all have these thoughts. Another thing we're often guilty of is becoming attached to the how of how things are meant to happen. So I'm going to do X and Y and it's going to lead me to Z. The truth is that life is not really a destination like that. We never really get somewhere and everything falls into place and it stays that way forever. Of course, there are pleasant times in our lives when things seem to be going relatively smoothly, and of course, we should enjoy these times. But often we live in a state of groundlessness where things are uncertain. We don't really know what's happening. So, in this state, we feel like we're not really living, we're waiting for something to happen. Deepak Chopra says people are constantly seeking security, and you'll find that seeking security is actually a very ephemeral thing. Even attachment to money is a sign of insecurity. You might say, when I have X million dollars, then I'll be secure. Then I'll be financially independent and I will retire. Then I will do all the things I really want to do. But it never happens. So in ancient wisdom traditions, the solution to this whole dilemma lies in the wisdom of insecurity or the wisdom of uncertainty. He says that when you want something, you should relinquish your attachment to the outcome. This means giving up your rigid attachment to a specific result and living in the wisdom of the uncertainty, like we said. It means enjoying every moment as a part of a spontaneous sort of exploration of your life, even if you don't know exactly how you're going to get to the outcome. There's a lovely quote here as well that I'll read from Akim, which says, synchronicity happens when we align with the flow of the universe rather than insisting the universe flow our way. So it's about being flexible to the how. But how do we start to welcome uncertainty into our lives? It can be quite difficult, particularly if you're comfortable in routines, as some of us really are. And a great and easy way to be comfortable with uncertainty is to try to do something you do every day, but in a different way. This will open up your mind to the possibility that you can achieve your goals through various means. Start small. For example, if you go for a walk to the park every lunch, just go in the opposite direction if you usually go around a certain way. You might take a different route. You might, if you always read a certain kind of book, try a different one. Just something like that you do every day. If you're always doing your washing up, maybe you always do the knives and forks first, but this time you're going to start with the plates. And it's about inviting that little bit of uncertainty into your life. So we do have a few mantras on here for you and affirmations that can help as well. And this is all part of cognitive behavioral therapy, brain training, positive psychology. The more that you say these things to yourself, the more that you see them, you put them around you, you can actually retrain your brain to be more open to these situations. So we've got these on here, and of course this will be sent out to you afterwards, so you don't have to worry about taking them down. But things like, I'm comfortable with uncertainty. When I relax with uncertainty, the miracles occur. I'm fine not knowing. I trust that whatever happens, happens at the right time.
Okay, so now we've connected to our desires, opened ourselves up to the right mind frame of being present, accepting, free from worry, and comfortable with uncertainty. So it's time to get a little bit more into the magic itself of synchronicity. So we kind of gave that, that definition earlier of synchronicity by Carl Jung to describe seemingly coincidental yet meaningful events in the external world that do not have an obvious cause. So Jung believed that many occurrences labeled as coincidences are not actually due to chance. Instead, he believed that these occurrences are directly related to the observer's mind and serve to provide powerful insight, direction, and guidance. So we just wanted to share a few more stories of synchronicity to kind of light it up in your mind. But during the talk, maybe you've even had some that have come to from your own personal experience, some nice memories. So one that I thought of when I was discussing this with Shannon was, I used to live in Vietnam, and I had a really good friend there from Czech Republic, and we lived in Hanoi in the north, and she was visiting Saigon, the city in the south. And yeah, so she told me one day she was having, and this often happens, you have one synchronicity, then loads more. So she was having lots of synchronicities. And one of the things that happened that day was she was in Saigon in a post office, the south of Vietnam, thousands of miles away from her home in Czech Republic, when she went to the post office to send a letter. And when she looked over, the person right beside her was sending a letter to the exact, like the village one, like a few miles down the road from her. So I just thought that was like a very funny type of synchronicity story.
Yeah, that's a great story. And just to share ones of my own, during this week, I've actually had a few synchronicities happen. I got off the bus at 10 p.m. on last Tuesday night in a different part of Dublin City that I'm usually not in. And then I walked past the Lewis stop, and I don't usually speak to people at that time of night because it can be a little bit scary at that time of night when you're just trying to get home. So I was avoiding looking, and I actually got a text from my friend about 5 minutes later saying that he'd seen me. Was that you, passing? And this is someone I hadn't seen for months and months and months. And it's very unusual to see them as they live in completely different parts of the city. And he didn't live in that part either. Then on Thursday evening, so only 2 days later, around 7 p.m., I was out for a walk with another friend in a different part of the city, completely different again from where. And then on Monday, when I was doing final edits to the script, I was in this exact part writing about synchronicity stories when a friend messaged me to tell me that they had just experienced something synchronistic happen to them. They had no idea that I was writing this workshop, nothing at all about it. And it just shows you like these little things can crop up time and time again in your life, like bumping into someone multiple times or in a strange place that you never would see them. And the more you notice them, the more that they'll appear in your life.
So moving on, I think we might be running a few minutes over time, but we have this activity planned. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to outline it, and you can kind of do it on your own, in your own time, because it's a very nice activity. So to kind of tap into everything we've done and practice visualizing what we want, here's a little activity for that. So what I want you to do is to think of something you would love to happen. Again, you can think of it later, but maybe something pops to mind. So anything, it could be write a best-selling novel, meet your idol, just pick absolutely anything and make it as adventurous or outlandish as possible, as it's just for fun. So then you kind of have to imagine that this came true. And then what I want you to do is make a little story about how it happened. So if you wanted to meet your idol, you could say that a postcard arrived at your house addressed to him or her, and then you realized that they had a holiday home where you live. You went to deliver the postcard to their address, and there they were. So it's about being as imaginative as possible. It can only be a few lines. It's just for fun. So about how your dream came true. And also when the session is over, you can take the same goal and write another way it happened. So you can come up with two or three scenarios about that. And yeah, it's just kind of to help you tap into the openness and possibility that synchronicity could bring into your life in a fun, creative way, because there's absolutely so many ways that different things can happen.
So just bringing us to the end of our session here today then, and we just wanted to summarize everything for you. So if you want to live a more miraculous life, try and incorporate some of what we have explained in this workshop into your daily life. So the most important thing is getting specific about what you want with regular check with yourself and your desires. Don't forget to visualize them in some way or form, whether it's a vision board or meditation, whichever way comes most natural to you. Embrace presence by doing things that you enjoy or trying different mindfulness techniques. This will help you pay attention to what's happening around you, be able to capitalize on those different opportunities. Surrender to what is and what may be by practicing gratitude and acceptance with those mantras and different things like that. And let go of worry, fear, and anxiety by believing everything will turn out the way it's meant to be. Don't be so judgmental of yourself and of situations that surround you, and try to see how things could be working out to your advantage. Become comfortable with uncertainty and open to alternate paths and ways of doing things. So be more flexible. Know where you want to go, but be open to how you get there. And finally, practice noticing synchronicities. A good thing to do would be to keep a synchronistic diary. You can just write down every time something odd, strange, some opportunity, something keeps reoccurring, and you'll start noticing them more. As Deepak Chopra says, and I'll just finish on this, synchronicity is always happening, and it is happening everywhere. To reach a higher level of consciousness, you don't really need to create more meaningful coincidences in your life. You simply need to be aware of the synchronicities already there. It's a matter of focusing your attention. Keeping a journal is the best way to make that happen. So thank you so much for joining us for this workshop. We hope that you enjoyed it. And we would also love to hear your synchronicity stories. If you want to reach out to us on any of our social channels or via email, we would love to continue this conversation. Or if you even want to send us some of your stories, we'd love to hear them as well. So thank you so much.